Yo, what's good? Real ones. This is Logan Murdock. I'm here with Raja Bell. We have a really special guest. This is someone near and dear to Raja's heart. So I'm going to throw it to you, Raja. Who we got on the pod today, man? Who we got on the pod?
Listen, so when you say near and dear, like, you neglect to say that, like, my playoff chances were thwarted by said individual multiple times. So, like, real talk, I don't know how near and dear, but no, listen, we are blessed enough to have Timmy Duncan with us on the pod today. Tim, thank you for popping on. USVI native, possibly, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest power forward to ever play the game. Thanks for hopping on with us today, brother.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate y'all.
No doubt. Hey, so look, I mean, we pride ourselves, Tim, like one of our like catchphrases is let's get to the shits. So I figure like I'm going to come out and ask 2007, do Boris and Amari Stoudemire deserve to be suspended? Jokes, bro.
Wow.
Jokes.
Wow.
jokes. Straight jokes.
Went hard on the gates.
All right. But look, let me tell a little story before we get started. Like, I don't know that you know this, but for those of you listening, like, I too grew up in the Virgin Islands. Not a lot of people know that because Timmy's from the Virgin Islands. Everyone knows that. But I was a swimmer at an early age too. There was a pool. It was called the Dolphin Swim Team. Timmy and his sister Trisha were huge swimmers. And so I left the island in 89, Tim, before Hugo hit, right? Played a little basketball at Good Hope, played against St. Dunstan's, knew you from the swimming arena, but not necessarily basketball. So I'm sitting at my kitchen table in 92. I'm a 94 kid and I'm reading Street and Smiths. And Street and Smiths is talking about like a 7-foot kid named Tim Duncan from the Virgin Islands being the number one kid in the country. And I'm like, what in the hell? Like, I don't remember any 7-foot kid on the swim team that played basketball in the Virgin Islands named Tim Duncan. And so, like, you came out of nowhere for me who had moved away. I would like to ask you, because I never have, when the Hugo ruined the pool and you got into hoop, like, I know your brother-in-law was the mentor, but did you pattern your game after anyone? Were there any influences on the island in terms of older players? Was there someone in the league that you were watching to kind of structure and model your game after?
In control of the ball, I want to be the point guard type, but obviously my game wasn't modeled after that specifically. I was more of a post player, but honestly, I didn't even play in the post until I got to college, where they asked me to go on the block and figure out what to do there. The first size, for skill, whatever it may be. When you left in 89, I don't even think I had just started playing. I was obviously it was before Hugo, and I started playing after Hugo. I really wasn't on the court at all at that point. So after Hugo hit, I started playing with friends. All my friends, all the guys from St. Dunstan's, and we used to go all over the island just trying to find courts to play and places to play, and it just kind of went from there.
How did like I when I moved to Miami, it became obvious to me at the time that like it was going to be hard for real talent to be like kind of cultivated and found in the Virgin Islands. Just I didn't know it at the time, but not everybody was going there on a recruiting trip. Yeah. How did they find you in St. Croix? Were you leaving the island to come to like 5 stars and ABCDs and stuff like that?
No, I went to one basketball camp in my junior year. My brother-in-law that you spoke about, Ricky, that kind of taught me to play. He's from Ohio, so he grew up right down the street from Ohio State. So he took me into that basketball camp. That's the one basketball camp I went to, and I got a little buzz from there. Played well there, did well there. Still growing, probably 6'7", 6'8" at that point. Played pretty well there. Picked up a lot of stuff there. Knew I had a lot of work to do. I go back home, and then just by chance, we have a touring team that comes through the islands. Alonzo Mourning was on that team. A guy named Chris King, who played at Wake, was on that team. And Chris King went back to Wake Forest and told Coach Otto about me, and then that started that process. So I got maybe 2 or 3 colleges looking at me from the Ohio State camp. I got Wake Forest looking at me from him being down there. and then I think I got one other from. I don't know if you remember Andy Herbert that used to play, big guy.
Yeah.
His alma mater recruited me as well. So that's kind of how I got looked at that point.
When you go to Wake, right? Like you pick Wake. My experience when I moved at 13 was startling when I got to Miami, and like culturally, I was like, whoa, what is going on? What was that like for you? Like, leaving home, but the culture change being like more different than any kid leaving their city going to another city.
Yeah, it was. I was lucky in the fact that I went from an island to a small campus. Like I didn't go to an Ohio State where there's 30,000 kids or whatever. I went to a small campus, 2,500, 3,000 students, close knit family with the basketball team there. So I had kind of a built-in family. So I wasn't as culture shocked as it would say, just like moving off the island and right into a big city. So I was kind of blessed in that respect. And then being a part of the basketball family, obviously you got your schedule filled, man. You don't have time to go out and just go around and try to figure stuff out. You got a schedule. You got to go lift and work out and play basketball. Get yourself to class. Wake Forest is no joke about the academics, so I had to stay on top of that. So I had a busy enough schedule that I wasn't as distracted as you would say, coming from an island to kind of a different place.
Yeah, that go ahead. Hey, hold on, Logan. My bad, but I want to ask him again, like, because that structure really does help. Tim, was it immediate success? Like, you got to forgive me because back then I wasn't as tuned in. Was it like hit the court and Tim Duncan was Tim Duncan? Did it take you a little bit of time? If it took you time, like, when did you realize, like, yo, this is what I'm built. This is what I'm built for. Like, I'm gonna do this. Like, you know what I mean?
It took some time. Yeah, I was supposed to be redshirted my freshman year. We had a pretty decent recruiting class. Maxar Njai, Ricky Peral. These are guys that were kind of established. A very good recruiting class. They all of a sudden were ineligible to play, and I'm the redshirt that was like, hey, this guy's going to redshirt for a year. Let him grow. Let him figure it out. And then we'll throw him in the system. I got thrown in the system from the go. Had a bunch of great seniors, Randolph Childress, Mark Lucas, Trelawney. Had a lot of really good seniors there. So I just was kind of a throw-in. I wasn't expected to do much. I wasn't expected to contribute much. Just kind of to be a part of the team. And I did exactly that in my freshman year. Although I think I ended up having a double at some point my freshman year. I was just playing. They really didn't know what I was doing. Really didn't know what I was going to contribute on a nightly basis, but just kind of out there playing. When did I figure out I was going to probably do it? I don't think it really hit me until probably after or during my junior year, when there started to be a little bit of buzz, which I really didn't believe. People started like, man, people are talking about you being a lottery pick. And I was like, no. Yeah, maybe after my senior year, maybe, but like not right now. Coming out of my sophomore year into my junior year, and then at the end of my junior year, I actually, in my mind, I was at college. I was a 4-year college player. Like I was going to be there, but my coach had to sit me down in his office and be like, "Hey, there's a letter in front of you. Either you're going to commit to the draft or you're going to be back here for another year." And in my mind, I was like, it was like a no-brainer. Like I'm coming back to school. Like I still have growing to do. I want to get my degree. I want to finish out here. We got a good squad. All that stuff. So that was kind of my mindset. I wasn't even thinking about going on to at that point.
Well, from a basketball standpoint, Tim, you said that one of your basketball idols was Magic Johnson, and it was interesting for you to say that you idolized a guard, growing up in St. Croix, and how did that influence your game? Because you are a 7-foot big man, but you have those shooting skills, you have those dribbling skills. How much did Magic's game kind of influence that, and why do you think that you were able to venture towards him as opposed to maybe a Kareem or a traditional big man Why did you venture towards Magic?
Well, I think for a number of reasons. One, he's fun and exciting to watch. And at that time, it wasn't like the NBA we watch now, where you can watch 10 games a night no matter where you are. Like we got to wake up.
You didn't get many games down there, right? Like there wasn't a whole lot to watch, right?
No, you got marquee games, and obviously Magic at the time, the Lakers at the time were the marquee games you got weekly. I was never a Bulls fan. I was never a Jordan fan. Just didn't vibe with me. So Magic was the guy leaned towards, and it helped me a bunch, honestly. And I was able to develop dribbling and passing and that kind of mind process instead of just being a back to the basket big or watching or seeing how they played that way. Obviously, that wasn't really how I wanted to play. I had more fun being out on the floor and passing the ball and pushing up the floor and playing like that.
That's interesting.
Did you want to be a point guard though? Did you want to be a point guard at first, and did it just because I'm just tall, I'm just gonna be a center or a forward?
I've always wanted to be a point guard.
So then my next question would organically be: the game has changed so much, Tim, just since you and I kind of shut it down. Where
crazy,
right. These guys are true point forwards in some instances now, and power forwards no longer occupy that post or even mid post area. It's pick and pop or front of the rim. Yeah. How does Tim Duncan, as the grizzled vet, old curmudgeon like myself, feel about the way the game has evolved?
Wow, that's more of a deep question, because there's a lot of things that I like and enjoy about it, and there's a lot of things I hate about it.
Yeah.
I hate the way the game's being officiated at times, how they've underpowered the effect of a post player. So you're allowed to beat the crap out of a post player. You're allowed to take him off his spot. You're allowed to hit him, bump him while they're shooting. But if you turn and face and go out to the 3-point line and you shoot the ball and fall down, all of a sudden the whistle is blown. So they're protecting the shooters away from the basket. So it overpowers perimeter players that are away from the basket, and it underpowers post players who use their bodies and their physicality around the basket. So it's a weird dynamic. I think it kind of goes up and down as the game changes. The NBA wants more scoring. They want to see the 130, 140 point games. They don't want to. They don't want the battle of the 90 and 80 and 90 point battles that we used to have back in the day. They want a high pace, and they want a lot of 3-point shooting. They want it up and down. So they're goods and bads in it, and honestly, it's annoying at times. But I see the way it's going. You have to adjust and grow.
How did you adjust to that in the back half of your career? Because you were in, the last 2 years is when the pace and space was starting. How did you adjust your game to that, where there isn't as much, emphasis on post play? It's more for the Steph and the Splash Brothers and things like that. How did you adjust your game to the new evolution?
Honestly, it got adjusted for me. Like as we moved along, our offense changed. I wasn't the center of the team, and the fact that we're going to come out, throw the ball in 20 times a game and play off the post. We did it through motion. We did it through body movement. We did it through passing. Obviously, we were shooting the three, I think, a bit more even early on than people were, but just in a different respect, just through ball movement, not just straight up 3-point shooting. So the game adjusted for me, and I just had to find my place. I wasn't a 20, 25 point scorer anymore. I became more of a cog than actually the one carrying the team. So a lot of more pick and rolls. Again, a lot of ball movement, and a lot of that kind of fell into kind of how I like to play anyway. I like to move the ball. I like to find people. I like to figure out in defenses and how they're trying to attack you and exploit them.
Tim, like, so when I think about those Spurs teams you played on, right? Like, I don't know if it happens to you, but it happens to me. Like, I think about two different sets of guys, right? Like that early group you were with General and Sean Elliott and David Robinson, that group. And then for some reason it gets blurred in the middle, and then it's you and Manu and Tony Parker. And so I guess my question is, do you see yourself with one group more than the other? Like when you identify as a Spur, is there one group that you identify with more than the other?
I think I spent more time with Tony and Manu, so I think I'm linked with them in my more recent memory as part of that crew. But honestly, I learned so much and I grew into the player that I was because of the Avery Johnsons and the Vinny Del Negros and the Sean Elliott's and the Dave Robinsons and the Monty Williams and those guys. I grew into myself because of those guys. So it's hard to say one group or another. We were different. We early on, and again, we talked about the 80, 90-point games where those early teams where we weren't high scorers, but we would lock people down. We'd stay in front of people. We had great shot blocking in the back. We had great size, and we just grinded it out. As the game changed, and we have Tony and Manu and Kawhi and myself and Boris Diaw. We had all these kind of players that can play so many different positions and are so unselfish with the ball. We just kind of changed with the times.
Well, it was something interesting that Raja said and that you were saying about your adjustment to America or the mainland of America, and how and Raja talks about his adjustment to Florida a lot. Do you think that where Boston was could get the first pick and Philly was also in those odds? Do you how important was it, do you think, that San Antonio got that number one pick and picked you for your development, not only in the league but in America? And how do you think that would have been different if you would have went to a Boston or a Philly back then, as how young you were?
Well, I remember the draft order. I remember sitting in my buddy's house watching it all go down, and since the draft order came out to when the draft actually happened, the assumption was that I was going to Boston. In my head, I was going to Boston. I just kind of knew it, and as the picks work out, and I think they get the 8th pick because they have the 2 of the top 10. They have the 8th pick, and then it comes down to the last 3 where it's Boston, Philly, and San Antonio. And then Boston goes 3rd. And I remember getting up from my couch and standing on the table watching the TV like, holy crap, I'm not going to Boston. Like it was like in my head, that's where I was going, just for percentage chances. I was like, I'm not going to Boston. And I'm standing on the table in the middle of the living room. And then Philly comes up number 2. I'm like, holy crap, I get to go play with David Robinson. Are you kidding me? Like, this is awesome. So as for development, I don't know how it would have worked out. I don't know what would have happened, but obviously it worked out pretty perfect for me, ending where I did, being with Coach Pop and being with all those vets and learning from David. I think Patino at the time was the Boston coach, and obviously they were running a much different system there. So who knows? Who knows? I think I was absolutely blessed to land where I landed, and it worked out the best for me.
I think one of the biggest things that I just in researching this for this podcast is just how poised you were at such a young age, especially in the finals, where that finals run in '99, where you're going through a Shaq, you're going through a young KG, and then you go into playing against the Knicks. Do you think just being in San Antonio, how did that help you? And also, how did being in college for 4 years help you through that process? Because I've never seen a second-year player be that poised on that big of a stage. I mean, Raja, you could back me up on that, but I have never seen anybody in a finals game like that.
It's a great question, though, because, Tim, we talk about it. They ask all the time. And these young kids that come out, look, if you can make your money, I say make your money. I'm not here to count anyone's money, but they're usually not prepared to help a team right away because they haven't been seasoned and been through it. So I think it's a great question, Logan.
Yeah, and 2 ACC championships, ACC tournament, NCAA tournaments, 4 NCAA tournaments, all great preparation. Played in a great league in college, a lot of talent. You can go through the guys I played against in the ACC that were I played against throughout my career in the league. The Stackhouses and the Rasheed Wallaces and the Joe Smiths and like we had some talent in the ACC, and I was able to. And with my lack of experience, and Ra, you can attest to this. Like my lack of experience with high level talent in the islands, I needed that time. I needed that time. I needed that experience. I needed that competition level to be prepared for the early parts of the NBA. But yeah, I agree with you at the point where I'm not against anybody going and making their money. Good for them. If you got the talent to do it, and it's the time to do it, and it's either you make your money now or you risk hurting yourself or your chances. Yeah, I understand that. But yeah, the kids aren't ready now when they come out. You see them their second, third year in the league, and then you see a whole different player. I was like, yeah, they're a whole different player because they would have been a senior in college at this point. They'd have been a leader of their squad. They'd have been asked to lead a team. Now they're ready. Obviously, that there's always people who do it differently, who come out of first or second year of college and they're ready to go. There are always those people, but for the most part, what you see are guys that are underdeveloped and have a lot of growing to do. And sometimes they have people who are patient enough with them that will hold on to them long enough and develop them, give them the chance. I think the Spurs do an amazing job with developing guys and using the G League to go back and forth and give them that experience on the court and help them do that. And then when they're ready, they're ready. But sometimes franchises don't have that time to invest into individuals, and then all of a sudden they go to the wayside. But for me, that was the right route for me. That was the right time for me because I needed that time in development. I needed that experience. I needed that competition, that level of competition. I needed to know how to be counted on as a leader and in big games and on and off the court. So I had all that experience, and then I also walk into a situation where I don't need to be the leader. I just need to play and play well. You've heard Avery. Avery's got a loud enough voice for everybody.
Wait, what was it like? What was it like going through that gauntlet in '99? No, you're going against a young KG, then you go up against a Shaquille O'Neal, who's prime Shaq, not the peak yet, but prime Shaq. And you were 23, 24 years old. Are you nervous before these games, these matchups? Like, how are you feeling before, as so young of a player, going up against these legends?
You know, I was always just very competitive, so I never really shied away from those games. Like I really embraced and loved those games. I love the competition. I respected those guys and knew what they brought to the table, but I wanted to one up them. I just always did. So bringing that kind of fire and level of competition to the floor, I wasn't worried or afraid or scared or anything. I was just trying to do my best to help my squad and try to beat them as much as possible.
Tim, so I got a chance to go to training camp with you guys. I don't know, it was 2000, 2001. Antonio Daniels takes me out. I get signed, takes me to buy a Lexus, like on the spot. We cop the Lexus. I promptly get cut. I'm like, why the hell do I have this Lexus? I've just been cut. But no, I wanted to ask because like Logan touched on you being in San Antonio and what that was, for your game. But you talked about like David at Robinson and what he meant to you. Give me another name or even touch on like David and maybe even Pop on what they meant to like building Tim the professional, right? Because like we talk about how great you were on the court, right? But like equally as great off the court and the consummate professional. So like, I like to talk about my vets, the Aaron McKees, the guys you wouldn't necessarily think about that really help mold you. Like, give me a guy that I wouldn't think about that was really, in your ear trying to help you become the pro like that you ultimately became.
I'll go. That's easy. Monty Williams. Monty was a second or third year guy when I was there, so he was a young guy, coming off a very good season of his own, but young guy. I had him. I had Corey Alexander. Those are my young guys. Antonio Daniels was there early on. Malik Rose was there early on. Malik Rose. So I had all these guys that were just good dudes, hardworking, wanted to show up in the summer and find somewhere to work out and find somewhere to get better. Obviously, Dave and Avery and Vinny and those guys were kind of role models in respect of how to affect the community, how to help the community, how to be a part of it, how to be a leader and be someone that a franchise can want to put out front as their guy. Obviously, great examples for that. But to answer your question, guys like Monty Williams. Monty Williams is we're great friends now. I talk to him all the time now. Like some of you saw it, I still talk to. But at the time, he's a young player there. I'm the incoming first pick, but still kind of takes me under his wing, and he brings me to the house, and his wife cooks dinner for me, and we're hanging out and on the road, and just a good example of a human being just to learn from at that point in my career.
Yeah. Much is made of your partnership with the Spurs, and but a lot is made about your partnership with Coach Pop. And I wouldn't say it's unusual between a player and a coach because, they're supposed to have a good relationship. But you and Pop's relationship from a star player and a coach seems to be the model that we all try to see in stars and coaches. What allowed you guys to trust each other so fast to hold each other accountable, or him hold you accountable? Because the line is always, I think Steven Jackson said, who was someone you guys both love. Steven Jackson always says, man, I can't be fucking up because Pop is holding Tim accountable just as much as he's holding me accountable. What made you trust Pop enough to be able to have that type of relationship?
I think my dad gave him permission to kick my ass if he needed to. So he met my dad early on, obviously, and before I was drafted, and my dad kind of told him, like, just you got to keep him in line. Don't let his head get inflated. Don't let him get outside of himself. You stay on him, and just expect the best of him. So he got permission from my dad early on to kind of keep me in line, and he's someone that's easy to respect because he's straightforward with you. He'll get on you. He'll love on you. He'll keep the environment fun to be in, but when it's work time. When you're able to joke around and relax. So just a good dynamic to have. Some people take themselves a little too seriously. Some people take what is an NBA season that's very long. Raz, it's 82 games, 70 something this year, but 82 games usually, and it's a large chunk of a year. That's a long time, man. And
it's a grind.
It's a grind. People have stuff that they're dealing with on the floor. They're having ups and downs in their games, trying to be a pro and whatever expectations are. Then they go home, they got to deal with their families, and the players are juggling all these things. And sometimes people don't understand that. People don't understand all the extras you have to deal with. And he does good about. He does, obviously. He's one of the best at it. At understanding that and helping you juggle it, and keeping you accountable, but at the same time not wearing you out.
That's really interesting. Like to that point, like I referenced the time I tried to make the team. Like Pop cut me, and he was the only person that cut me. That when I left that office, like I felt like okay, like because everything was laid on the table. It wasn't a disappointment thing. It was just a matter of fact kind of evaluation of where you were. And I thought he was kind of spot on. I wasn't ready to make that team, but I always, appreciated the person he was. I want to ask you, Tim, because like later.
Let's stop there for a second. You know a fun fact about Raja Bell?
Yes, let's get a fun fact about Raja Bell. Let's do it. Yes.
Raja Bell to this day is still the standard. Raja Bell to this day is still talked about by Pop when there are guys that they're coming down to a last cut on the team where he'll say, I don't want to make a mistake like Raja Bell. Like I don't want to cut a guy like right on the verge of being a integral part of our team. We keep Raja at that point, and he's a big part of our team for a lot of years. And it's just it's like right there. I'm like I don't want to cut a Raja Bell. I don't want to make that mistake. So
damn,
he takes it very seriously, and obviously he thinks about it's his team, and that's another thing about him. Like he does the cuts. Like I don't know how it works everywhere else, but he cuts the people that he cuts. He sits in front of them and he tells them, hey, this is the reason why, and this is the stuff, and this is why, and I hope that we have another chance with you, or whatever you need to hear. I don't need to hear that. Whatever the reason is that you're not making the team at that point. So I always respected that of what he does with the guys that he has to let go, because it's not
I knew I loved Pop.
Look at Raja. Raja's out here tearing up. He's out here tearing up.
Good dude, all the way around. Good dude, man. Yeah. Good dude. Hey, wait, real quick, because Logan's got some real serious shit to ask, and I don't want to ask any serious shit right now. Who drinks more wine, Boris Diaw or Greg Popovich?
Wow, that's really close.
That's close, really right?
Close. That is a really close one. Boris will get it done. But I'll give Pop the edge, not because he drinks more, just because he knows so much about it.
Yeah,
it is mind blowing how much he knows about it. I got to spend a year on the coaching side with him last year, and a big part of the coaching side is dinners with the coaching staff, and to hear him the coaches have a really good time whenever he brings a wine or something to the table. He'll put it down, and the guys will have some of it, and then they'll ask him questions about it, and he'll delve into where it comes from, the year and the grape, and so I don't know who drinks more. I know Pop knows way more about it.
Right. That's great. Boris, by the way, I don't know. Like I saw him, I don't know if you stay in good contact with him, but he shows up in Miami last year, like out of the blue. I see him on South Beach. I'm with my son's basketball team. And I'm like, yo, Boo, what are you doing these days, man? He's like, well, I'm on my boat. I'm in St. Martin, and then I'm in South Pacific. Like he's like traveling the globe on a boat, on a catamaran.
Dude, listen, I am home. I'm in St. Croix. I have a place there. I'm at my place. And I'm checking my phone. Hey, what's up, Tim? I'm in the Virgin Islands. I'm in the BVI on my boat.
On my boat.
Oh, cool. That's awesome, man. I'm in St. Croix for a week. He's like, all right, I'll be there in 2 days. I was like, what? What? Okay. Well,
that's great. With a marlin.
Yeah. Nice. He docks like 4 or 5 miles from my place. And I go out and hang out on his boat for a day and check him out. And he's a dive master. He's a
dive master. Bro, like
I figured out.
By far one of my favorite teammates of all time. Like he's just like real talk. He is just the dude, Boris Diaw.
Yo, that's crazy. I remember last year I was covering the Warriors and I had to go to Salt Lake City. Saw Boris, but more importantly, I went to Valters. And I've told this story with Raja here. And the first thing I see walking into the entrance is a picture of Pop. how is it for Pop to, with these organizing all these dinners for all these people? If you're a Spur for life. He's taking the bill no matter what. What was your first experience with that? And was it better as a player or as a coach?
With one more time, with
the restaurants across the country and him footing the bill, is it better for you when you're a former player or when you're on the coaching staff?
Well, it's better than as a coach because you're always there. As a player, you didn't always know where he was going to dinner. Like you may end up at the same restaurant sometimes, and then all of a sudden the bill comes and it's like, no, they've got your bill. I'm like, yes, that's awesome.
What's the best meal he's paid for, and the best wine he's paid for you?
I don't drink wine. I know, shocking. I don't drink wine, so I'm not a wine drinker. I'll have some rum, but I'm not a wine drinker in any way. So again, he doesn't waste it on me. It's like what he likes to say. Like he'll have a good bottle of wine, and the waiter will come around. He'll try to put some in my glass. He's like, no, take his glass. Don't waste it on him. Let's see. The best meal. And we had some really good ones this year. And he really does his research about restaurants and in the different places. And he tries to keep it fresh for his coaching staff because a lot of his coaches have been there for a lot of years, which is what I worry about him this year with all the quarantining and not being able to go to restaurants. He's going to lose his mind. But he finds some great places all over the place, places that I would never go to or know exist. And they're always great meals. So I don't even know where to point out like one good meal. I had some kind of rabbit something this past year that I would never have ordered on a menu, but it was like their main dish, and it was absolutely amazing.
Huh.
And per his like suggestion, and so like. There are so many places I've been with him, and just in this past year that were just amazing.
Tim, what was the coaching side like for you, man? Like I hopped into the like the front office side for a minute, but like it didn't really do it for me, right? Like I didn't feel like I was hands on, like I had stuff, you know what I mean? So what was coaching like for you?
Exactly that. It was it took some adjustments. One, I wasn't ready. Like I know guys go through a couple years doing G League stuff and doing the coaching camps, whatever it is. I just kind of happened onto it where perfect storm. Coach Messina leaves, Coach Ime leaves, and he's got kind of an open spot. He's kind of looking around. I'm in the gym every day anyway, with the guys kind of on the side. And I'm there with Mono, and he's like, hey, who's going to coach with me this year? Just in passing, kind of joking about it. Semi, he wasn't joking. Semi, he was joking. And we both laughed it off like, no, thank you. I'm not trying to get back into it. But after a couple of months, I was just like, might be a cool experience just to experience it. I know the team. I know the guys. I know the coaches. I know the situation. So I jump into it there, unprepared, admittedly enough. And I kind of learned on the fly. Got some great video guys that kind of took care of me and helped me with all the video stuff and the breaking down tape and how you want to present it to the coaching staff when you have teams that you have to present. Great people to learn from, Becky and Will Hardy and Chip England. We have some great coaches there who are lifetime coaches who have done it and were gracious enough to help me along. But as you said, it didn't grab me. I got a chance to be a head coach for a game and a half. That was as close to the game as I felt, as close to actually affecting the game as I felt throughout the whole situation. But all in all, it just was. It wasn't the same adrenaline rush as it was as being a player. So.
Yep. What was that one game like? Is it nerve wracking because you don't really have control over, like you do, but you don't as much control as you have as a player. So is that like, oh my goodness, what's going on?
I was actually more prepared for that one when the first one was against Portland, and Pop goes on one of his rants. He gets one tee, and in the back of my head, I'm like, this guy, he's gonna get kicked out, and I'm gonna have to coach for the rest of this game. I was unprepared for that. Although it was my scouting report, it was my team. I kind of knew in that respect. I wasn't prepared in how to handle timeouts. I wasn't prepared in substitution patterns and all this other stuff. So that one was really nerve wracking. And then it came down to the end and we lost. But that was really nerve wracking. For the other one, I was told in advance, a couple days in advance, and so I had some preparation time to think about it. Sometimes to be ready for how to handle things a little better. So I was a little better prepared for that one. But in the same respect, we get down a bunch early on, and I've got no control over it. Like you can put people in there, but you can't make people play well or anything else. You just got to kind of go with the flow of what the players are doing, and kind of feel what the players are doing. So again, not as much control as a player, therefore not as pleasurable as being a player. But again, as close as you can get at that point.
Yeah, that's I felt the same way about that front office. I mean, it was a great experience, but it was just not fulfilling in that regard. Tim, I want to ask you, man, like you played in some golden eras of basketball, bro. Like obviously our teams were coming up against those Spurs teams, so we developed a little distaste in the mouth, if you will, for the Spurs. Politely, let me ask you though, who was it for you guys, man? Like, who was there a team that just was like, given the opportunity, like we'd like to beat them down? Like it was more than just we want to win the game. Like were there guys like that for you, bro? Where
the Phoenix Suns with Raja Bell on the team. The
Absolutely.
Phoenix Suns with Raja Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, it absolutely was. Yeah. It was early on. It was Utah. Utah was a hump we had to get over. They were they were dominant early on, and especially in my career, we had to get over that hump. Then it was the Lakers, and it was Phoenix. It was Dallas. So Dallas and Houston, obviously, right down the road, were always good rivals and had good teams. So it kind of fluxed throughout my career, but probably those, and then obviously with the teams with any team KG was on was always a big game.
Let me hey, dog, listen. KG used to like. He had more antics, dog, Tim. I don't know. Like, maybe because you guys were about the same size, like, he didn't do that shit to you. I don't know. But, like, he talked the most shit. And, like, I remember one time he hit me with, like, a bow, like, to see what I was going to do. Like, you know what I mean? Just trying to kind of, like, punk you a little bit. And so the next time I came down, I fired one right in his ribs. And he looked at me like, he left me alone after that. But, like, that's who he is, right? Like, that's what he tried to do.
He's done that a lot. He'll test you early, figure out who you are,
right?
And depending on your response, you get a certain type of response from him later on. But
right.
Exactly. Yeah, those individuals who came down and fired back, at some point, he usually left him alone, give him a little more leeway.
Right.
He said that it would frustrate him the most that he would talk all his shit, but you would smile and say, like, good job and stuff. Like, that would piss him off the most. Why would you never engage in trash talk, Tim?
With him, because that's what he wanted.
Okay.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to get you outside yourself. He wanted to piss you off and kind of control the situation. And I guess I recognize that. And plus, it wasn't part of my game. Like it frustrates people more when you just keep coming and coming and coming, and you just keep getting things done. And no matter what they throw at you or no matter what they do, it doesn't affect you, and it ends up affecting them much more than it does you. So that was my way. That was my what I figured out to be most effective, and it fit with my game. Like I didn't have to trash talk. I didn't need to trash talk. I wasn't good at it. So
I was just about to ask you if you were even good at doing it.
yeah. So my more thing is just like kind of poke the bear. Just kind of poke him a little bit and piss him off a little bit, and then they react and poke him again.
First of all, I talk no shit either because I'd have been like the dude to be like, you too. Like I was just gonna be bad at that. Like I wasn't gonna be any good at that, so I couldn't do that. But Timmy doesn't remember this shit. We were like, I was across from our bench in San Antonio, like swing to the corner. Tim's on a late closeout, right? So I'm like, this shit is cash. So I pull up, like I'm stroking it, and I said something like, yeah, that shit's in the bucket, and it like rattled out. And this mofo like tapped me and said, hey, Rod, don't count it before it goes in. It keeps going down the other way. And I'm like, you mother, no.
Wait, so we did talk about who were your adversaries and things like that. Who, when I was growing up, and I know you hate when people say, these young kids, they always talk about you when they were growing up, the posters on the wall and shit. But when I was growing up, Tim, it was always the Lakers and the Spurs throughout my whole life. That was always the two teams that were going back through generations, right? It was first you played them in 99 and you played them, during their three-peat, and then you got the upper hand on them in 03. What was that rivalry like for you? What going up against Shaq and Kobe throughout the late 90s and early 2000s?
It was amazing. We got to shut down the Forum in our last game against them, beating them in 99.
99, yeah.
Oh, y'all beat them? Y'all shut it down with a win?
Okay, all right. Let him tell the story, Raja.
Logan is a fucking Laker fan, so like let's clarify. Wait, we put that to bed with a W, Logan.
All right, Tim. How was that?
That was one of our yeah. We loved doing that. That was really a cool time to do that. And then obviously they go on their run in their three-peat there, and then we're able to kind of end that run in whatever 04, whatever it is. So, but yeah, they were always a huge rival. Obviously, the incredibly talented, great big personalities in Shaq and Kobe, and had some huge losses to them. Obviously, the big ones that come to mind, like the .4 and things like that. So we had a great ups and downs against them. Some of my highest highs against them and lowest lows. So just a great rivalry over the years.
What was up? I always ask this question with Raja because it's kind of a talking point. But what was it like for you going up against Kobe? How was that? Because it's you guys are always linked, but it's such a clash in styles and just how you guys go about the game. But there was always a mutual respect, it seemed like. What was it like going up against Kobe for as long as you did?
Absolutely. Absolute respect, obviously. Respected his talent, his competitiveness, just an incredible competitor. We differed in styles drastically, obviously, not just playing styles, but the kind of way we competed, the way we pushed our teammates, and he was more gritty and in their face, and was like, "I'll just do it myself," kind of deal. And he had the skill and the ability to do that. I was just different in how I approached things, but always knew that you're going to have to bring your best against him, without a doubt. And those are the guys and the games that you always remember the most. Well, I always remember the most because you didn't bring your best, you didn't bring your A game. They were gonna bring it. It didn't matter what kind of team he had. It was going to be a competitive night. It was going to be a night. If you didn't respect him, he was going to take it from you.
Yeah, he was. I mean, look, his competitive drive. You are right. There are very few. Him. Like that's great. You're talking about all time greats with that type of laser focus, and I'm here to like win no matter what at all costs. Tim, I want to ask you, like, I want to ask you about your family, bro, because I know, you're a full-time dad like I am. But before I do that, I really want to confirm, or you can deny, like, two things. One, when we played the Spurs, was the game plan to let Steve and Amari just get buckets and try to chop everybody else, like, off? Was the game plan to allow Amari to try to get 40 and you guys felt like you could beat us if you did that?
It was to I think it was more to limit the shooters because you turned into giving up the world if you tried to focus on Steve and Amari so much. You gave up the world because they still got theirs. Like
Right.
I still don't remember Amari missing like ever. Like it was either he was dunking it or he was shooting a wide open. I don't ever remember Steve missing either. Those guys were like incredible at that point. But if you focus so much on them and try to take away all of their stuff, they were still going to get their stuff, and all your shooters were going to get wide open shots everywhere. So we decided that we're going to kind of try to do our best to limit Steve and Amari, but we weren't just going to give up wide open shots to you guys so yeah, kind of worked out.
Damn you guys for that. Like real talk. Damn you guys. You and the Mavericks though. Everyone else, like I always felt like that was, it bared itself out. Like if you could stop me from getting 11 and LB from getting 15 and Eddie House from getting 12, like that was the support that they needed. Secondly, I forget, it might have been the Goodwill games or somewhere. You were playing for the US. And that one dreaded matchup came with the Virgin Islands, right? I didn't get to play that year. I was on a contract year. Did you have to tell the U.S. coaches, Popovich and Larry Brown, that you were injured, or did they give you the night off when it was time to play the USVI?
No, I just told them I didn't want to play.
All right.
Like I didn't know it would make a huge difference, and I kind of weighed back and forth of was it disrespectful not to play against the Virgin Islands, or was it disrespectful to play against them? And it made more sense to me that if I wasn't going to play with them, I wasn't going to play against them.
No doubt.
So we always know you as the Spur for life, and you are because you've been there you've been there your whole career. But in 2003, after the title, Orlando, am I right to say this? Orlando seemed like a possibility. Why didn't that happen for you?
Yeah.
Why didn't that end up happening, and how close was it to happening?
It was pretty close. It was absolutely in the ballpark. Why didn't it happen? Coach Pop, David Robinson, talking to these guys and them kind of having the last word and understanding that I really enjoyed with what I had there and maybe had a little more of control and certainty where I was, knowing that we've built teams, we were rebuilding teams, we were changing teams, and we were being competitive in a very competitive Western Conference. Going to Orlando, new coach, whatever talent was going to be there. Well, again, hypothetically, it could have been as far along as Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, or myself, or just Grant myself, or it just like. But there were so many unknowns in that respect, and then Doc was going to be the coach at that point. Just more known versus unknown is what it came down to. Just weighing my options, weighing what I felt comfortable in doing. I think my comfort came with Orlando and Florida is kind of getting closer to home and being closer to where I grew up. But when it came down to it, it was speaking with Coach Pop and David and some of my teammates that were here that finalized that I wanted to stay here and be here.
When you talk about the player empowerment movement now, right? You were one of the first ones. It wasn't as publicized because it was still in 2003. It wasn't as like say a LeBron or that. But when you see guys like LeBron and even a former teammate like Kawhi who left San Antonio, how do you feel about that the players, taking free agency more into their own hands now? And we're seeing less and less of guys like you, Kobe, and Dirk play out their whole careers. How do you feel about that shift in the league?
Wow. I hate playing the middle of the road with all these questions, but there's some good.
Fucking Tim, that's good shit. Hey, listen, let me ask you something, bro. Look, we're coming up on the anniversary of the unfortunate tragedy that was Kobe and the helicopter and all of that stuff, Tim. I want to ask you, man, do you have a favorite Kobe story? Like, do you have one, an exchange between the two of you guys that is memorable for you more than the others?
I don't know if there's any one that I can speak off the top of my head. We shared a lot of locker rooms over the years and all-star games and
okay, let me ask you another question, Tim. Who in the locker room of the Western Conference winds up being like a personality that is different than you would expect it to be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know them that well. You guys are in the locker room together and you're like, oh shit, like I would have expected him to be a little different. Cause I get it a lot when I'm on new teams. Like, hey, bud, I thought you were an asshole, but you're an okay guy. You know what I mean? Like, not that it has to be that, but like, is there anyone that like you met in a locker room, wasn't on your team, like in one of those all-star games, and you were like, hey man, like not the dude I thought he was?
I remember having to take a car with Dirk to the game and having a conversation because we never really sat and conversed about anything. And obviously our rivalries were kind of heated at that point. So we weren't really in any situation where we could sit down and talk. And just talking to him, like exactly what you said. He was not the guy that I thought he was. Just it was cool to talk to him. Kobe is the same way. KG's a lot like that too. Like when we're away from all the hoopla and the hype and the competitive back and forth. Good dude to talk to, fun to be around, nice enough guy. So I have to assume that a lot of people have that same thing to say about me. Like a lot of people think I'm an asshole. That's cool. I'm quiet. I'm competitive. I don't really give you a whole lot to judge me on. And until we're in more of a personal situation where we can kind of sit down and be ourselves with each other. So there are a lot of those guys around. Mari and Steve got to spend some time again all-star locker rooms with those guys and talk to those guys. Again, didn't really spend any time with them outside of that. So it was cool. It's always great to get to in situations like that to kind of get to know guys because all we know are competing and being ready and putting on that face and not worried about not just shaking hands, but not being your friend at that point. I just want to do my best to win and compete, and I don't give a shit about you and getting to know you.
Right.
But the same thing with you. So trust me, there are a couple people around this that still believe you're an asshole.
Why was when I know we talked about Kobe. What was it like when he passed for you? Did it mess with you at all? Like how was that, considering that you played against him for so long and he was supposed to, you know what I mean?
It's just a realization of how short life is, and it hit me in a weird way. To not only how old he was and knowing him personally, but just knowing him having kids and them not getting to know him in that respect, and being a father myself, it hit me in a weird way. Just a kind of snap back to reality and just like, man, life's short, man. Like it can be taken from you in the snap of a finger. And to just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. Not really worried about all the destinations and where you're trying to get to at times, but kind of enjoy where you are.
No, I don't want to get I don't want to get mushy. Let's get to a fun question. I got a fun question for him, Raja. I got a fun question. What is the most fulfilling chip you have, and what was the hardest chip you have?
Good question.
Wow, that's a tough one. Uh, I think the most fulfilling would be uh, against Detroit
Oh,
because we had to go to a seventh game against them, and that was probably the most nerve wracking of it
mm,
of the finals.
wow.
It's game seven, whatever. We're down 15 at some point in the final game, and I don't want to say the fear is kicking in, but it's just like the realization like you've come this far, and obviously we do it again against the Heat and we lose that one, and that's also disappointing as well. But to remember right now, the game seven is against Detroit, or it's against I'm facing Rasheed and McDice and Ben Wallace and just all these just big studs that are athletic, and they're not going to give up. They're keep cycling these guys through, and knowing we're down, we're getting beat on there for a little while, and then we just start making this run, and it ends in a very classic way for me. Like that one really stands out to me.
It was funny because I was wondering. I was thinking Raji was going to pick the Heat. I thought you were going to pick the 2014 Heat series because that was just all the stuff you guys went through 2013, and then to come back
Yeah,
for a five. I thought that was.
yeah,
I
and
thought that was.
no, I understand, and I agree with you with some respect, but I'm just I can kind of more like physically feel like the I can remember how it felt going into that game seven, where they were like they were asking, a reporter was asking before the game, is like literally asked if you had any fear of this game, like if you were scared going this game, and I was like, yeah, this is all for all the marbles. This is going into this is for all the marbles, and it was nerve wracking, and obviously it was a lot of fun, but and ended great. So probably the most memorable in that respect. Obviously, coming back after a losing in the finals and winning the next year is the great end to a story. But I think early on, just having that experience is probably the one I'd point to.
Tim, who do you like aside from a Spur or the Spurs? Like, if you're going to tune in and watch a game, like, is there a guy, is there a team that you're like, yeah, I like to watch that, whether it's the player or the team?
Not like right now.
Yeah, right now.
I like watching Denver. I like watching Jokic.
Yeah.
I like watching the Joker. He's a lot of fun to watch. His creativeness is his footwork, his passing. It's a lot of fun to watch him, and obviously the rest of the guys they're able to really turn it up, and they're a very good team. Um, it was fun to see Miami make a run the way they did with the team that they did, with Bam and Adebayo. I was mess his name up. And just kind of some unknowns, kind of putting a team together. No, no super teamish
Right.
kind of guys, but just kind of a bunch of hardworking individuals, and kind of put a team and put a run together. That was fun to watch.
Your son watch? Does he play, Tim? Does he watch the games? Like mine don't either, bro. Like, I mean, mine. Wait, does yours not play or not watch? Like,
neither. He doesn't do either. He's starting to get interested. So like it surprised me a couple weeks ago. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I think I'm going to start working on basketball again. If you want to help me." I was like, I had to kind of try to play it cool, like, yeah, whatever, yeah, cool.
And you're like, yes.
If you want to do that, then whatever.
I mean, hey, man, whatever. How old is he? How old is he again?
He's 13.
Oh, that's what's up. I said there's precedent set in the family though for starting late. So like you're good. Like you're good. That's great, man. Your daughter, does she hoop? What's she into?
She's a volleyball player.
Oh, that's what's
she's
up.
a volleyball player. Yeah, she's gonna be pretty good. So I'm excited about what she's got in store.
Dope.
what is it like for you to? We were talking about who you like to watch. What is it like for you to see comparisons to yourself, right? Because there's all throughout last season during the playoffs, we talked about on this pod, Anthony Davis was getting a lot of comparisons to you. And it's one thing to have people saying that they have, posters of you and you like, what the hell? Like, what? Okay. But to have someone like that get compared to you, how do you feel about that? Not just AD, but players in general get compared to someone like you.
Man, it's an honor, man. It's an honor. A lot of these guys like AD, talented individuals and crazy athletic. It's an honor to be kind of compared, even parts of my game to be compared. Like that's Tim Duncan-esque or whatever the reference may be. It's a lot of fun to hear that. It's a lot of fun for to be compared to those guys or those guys to be compared to me. And I'm honored by it. It's great.
Was Kawhi your rook, Tim? Was he your rook? Was he yours, or did you
no.
guys? Oh, okay.
I had listen, Terry.
We really didn't do that.
You didn't. Terry Porter was my vet. Like when I came through camp with you guys, and like the only thing I really had to do was make sure he had a USA Today and a coffee. Like
that's it.
It was my best
tame.
rook experience.
That seems very tame.
It was phenomenal. Like it was great. Like it wasn't really like the thing.
We really didn't do that. Like I didn't. Like I wasn't. And people said like, "You're the number one pick." Blah blah blah. No, I was a rookie, but I really didn't have but that wasn't a precedent set like when I got there. So we never kind of carried that along. I think we make our rookies get donuts like on game day. That's about the extent of our hazing.
Yeah,
that's
how's
great,
so. I think we are. What would you say, Raj? You got anything else, man? This is the legend. You got anything else for the man before we get some real ones?
I just again, dog, like Tim, real talk. Appreciate you hopping on with us, bro. Like it was good. I had a lot of questions.
We have real ones.
We do have real ones, but I just want to say because, like, look, Tim and I have crossed paths a bunch, but we didn't really get this time to sit down and truly chop it either. So some of those questions early, like I really was interested in a lot of that stuff. Like I took some time to kind of find out. And appreciate you hopping on. If you want to do real ones, dog, we'd love to have you do real ones with us, Tim.
Real ones is a person, a entity, a organization that aligned with your values over the last week, and someone that you want to shout out, or somebody that did somebody or an entity that did really well this week.
I'll and again, I try to stay out of this realm, but I'm gonna go ahead and say the real ones for me right now are the people of Georgia who went out and voted, and looks like they're gonna get 2 Democrats into the Senate, I believe, and have control of the House and able to really make some change in what's happening here in the U.S. I think whoever the many individuals that went out and pushed all these and got people to register to vote and to vote and really have their voices heard, I think those are the realest people.
Real ones.
It's funny because Raja, I'm gonna do mine because it's very appropriate. Mine was going to be Stacey Abrams in the WNBA for getting the message out to get out to vote.
There you go.
For a lot of people that were disenfranchised throughout this process. So shout out to Stacey Abrams, shout out to Georgia, and shout out to the WNBA.
Damn, dog. Like, but see, this is what sucks about going last with real ones, bro. Like, if you two do that, where is one to go now? I don't even know. All right, my shout out. I got 2 shout outs, all right, for real ones. One, Tim Duncan for hopping on with us on real ones. Like, I think that's appropriate. Many blessings, brother. Thank you. And Rashidi, who held it down, passed along the messages. Hey, Vivid streaming, Rashidi. I'm hopping on with him tomorrow morning. Good look, baby. Always love my 2 real ones of the week, dog. Thanks for being on with us, Tim.
Man,
Absolutely,
thank you guys
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much, Tim. Thanks for being on. You can check us out on Spotify. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you tap in to the real ones, the mismatch, the group chat, and all our rest of our pods on the NBA feed. We will see you guys next week. Thanks again to Tim for coming on, man. We'll see you guys next week.